Welcome back, guys. And today we're just going to go through some photos because I have a new truck. So, I want to welcome you guys back to the channel. It's been a while. I know I'm sorry, but this is just how things go with work and life, I guess you could say. So, we're going to jump right into it. I bought another first gen, and I didn't buy just a first gen. I bought the first gen. It's not the first gen to you guys, but to me, it absolutely is. And I say that because this is the truck that got me into these things. So this truck got me into first gen square bodies, that era of trucks. And I say that because I basically grew up around it and in it. This is my uncle's 92 W250, and yeah, there's not much more to say. This truck is what made me have a loop of 10 photos of trucks as my screensaver as a kid of first gens. I had all my favorite first gens. It was on a loop on my phone. This truck's the reason for that. I started a love for these things pretty young. Not as young as some. I wasn't like born in this thing or anything like that. Not even close. But my uncles own it for the past 10 or 12 years, and it's really been the reason that I am who I am, and I drive the trucks that I drive and all that good stuff. So let's start on some of the details. There's a lot of, I guess you could say, sentimental value here, and I am stoked to own this thing. He basically told me that it was time to sell it, and I got first dibs, and I jumped right on it. I had to have it. So this is a 92 W250. It's got 354 rear end gears. It's an LE truck, as you can see right there. It's got the tan interior, which we'll look at. It's totally optioned out. It was bought brand new, about 40 minutes from where I call home, and it hasn't made it far. It doesn't have a ton of miles on it. Pretty decently well taken care of. The truck is not perfect by any means. We got a lot to do, but it's one of the best shaped ones out there that you could buy right now. And what I bought it for, you can't buy another one in this shape for it. So let's hop to it. As you can see from this photo, one of the things I'm going to need is a rear bumper. This truck had a flatbed on it right before this picture. We actually swapped it the night that I bought it, so he could sell the flatbed, and because I had no use for it. So we put the factory bed on, and boy is it in good shape. It's been sitting in a barn as well as the tailgate. And yeah, this thing is a farm truck. It had a hay bed on it. It fed cows, pulled the stock trailer, pulled the seed tender, all that good stuff. So yeah, okay, so this is the next photo. We've got the tailgate, and this is nearly perfect LE gate. Obviously, the gate itself, there's a couple small dings, but the panel is perfect. It's very dirty in this picture. The red stripe needs redone, which is no biggie. I'll have one of my buddies that does the vinyl wraps. I'll have him do it and put that new red on there, and then we'll paint the little plastic right below the handle. Be good as new. It cleans up nice. Funny story is, I went to go pick up this tailgate and turned it sideways, and you could just hear the dirt falling around in it. Turns out I took one of the hinges out. A whole colony of wasp nests. Luckily it's winter time, so nothing bad happened, but there was a whole bunch of wasp nests in it. Got it all emptied out. I could probably even empty some more out. Next time I'm home, I'm gonna run the hose in it, more than likely. But yeah, so and you can see the right side taillight. It's missing all the chrome. I don't know how that happened, but I already ordered a new one. No problem. It's no big deal there. So the interior. We're working with a 92 LE interior, so you got the newer style steering wheel. I don't know, I butchered that. We got a little bit of a rip in the seat, and then we got power everything. Really, it's pretty good shape. We got gauges, which is an EGT gauge and a boost gauge. Obviously, we'll be adding to that for other necessities. Down low, you can see the TPS knob. It's one of those kits where you can adjust your TPS with the knob where it shifts into overdrive, basically. And that's what the wires are hanging down from there. We'll clean all that stuff up. The truck itself, Mechanically, it's basically all stock. It's got a fuel pin in it and a governor spring, and I tuned the pump about 2 years ago. So I've done those small touches, and then the overdrive didn't work for the longest time. I figured out what was going on there about a year ago and got it fixed for him so he could drive it over 45 miles an hour. So it just stayed on dirt roads mainly, but now he would take it into town and things like that. I would really love to get the cruise control working, some small things like that. Basically everything that should have worked from the factory, I want to get working. On my old truck, that really what I didn't care about that so much, which everything basically worked on that truck, but this one I want to for sure make a good attempt at it. Obviously, we need some new interior components, no big deal. Some of the door panels, they've got some self tappers, as most do. I went ahead and went and bought all new clips so we could remove those self tappers, put our clips in there, and not have to look at bolt heads sticking out of the door because that's a big pain. And then the carpet, you'll see some pictures of it cleaned up later, but we still need to put some new carpet in it. It's no big deal. And to top it off, this thing's got 135,000 miles on it. That's pretty awesome. My uncle bought it with like 14,000 on it, and that was like 10 or 12 years ago, so really hasn't gone that far. It stayed on gravel, went about a half mile to a mile a day to the farm. That's about it. So it's pretty cool to have one this low miles. My old one was 170,000. This one's 135. The front end looks just as good. The grill, I think it might have like a quarter-inch long crack above the G on the Dodge letters, but other than that, it's pretty perfect. One of those inserts is broken for the block heater, but that's pretty replaceable. You can get those. I'm not too concerned about that. I'll get that replaced. This truck is by no means perfect, and I don't want to make it appear that way at all. We've got lots of work to do. Cosmetically, it's not perfect either. It's only gonna get so good. I'm not gonna go through and repaint the thing or anything like that. So, okay, so here's another one of the issues. I noticed the pop. I didn't even look at this until a couple days after owning it. I noticed the pop in the steering wheel and immediately knew exactly what it was because it happened to my old truck as well after I put that 4-inch lift on it. And the crack in the steering box uh, plate right there, that's where they're very prone to cracking. They're known for it. And this one indeed is cracked. So we're going to get around that by putting crossover steering on it, and we'll get rid of that plate because whenever you do crossover steering, you have to move your steering box to the two-wheel drive location and remove the plate. So that won't be a problem. We'll get a brace too to stiffen all that up so it doesn't crack the next spot, but yeah, no good. Here's a picture of it all kind of cleaned up, and by cleaned up, I mean went through the car wash. This thing has not gotten a detail. I literally soaked it down with pre-soak and washed it for a good 10 minutes and drove it back down gravel. So this is what you get. Nothing crazy yet. Wasn't home that long, so didn't get to do much with it, but I think it cleaned up quite well. This should hopefully show you a little bit. It's not perfect. The fenders and bedsides are in great shape, but the doors are not. They've had enough cows rub up against them that they're kind of dented in a little bit. But with all of the practice I've had on the 89, popping those dents out in the doors with a football and or basketball and an air pump, I think I can get these out. So we're going to try that method again, see where it gets us. I really hope they come out. If not, my uncle, he is a professional PDR guy, so we'll see if he can't work some magic and get some of those out for us. I really hope it does because nothing else can happen. It's only going to get as straight as it can be because just like I said, we're not painting this thing. It is staying just like it is. So let's go to the next picture. Okay, so on this side you can kind of see that dent in the door. Hopefully, and it's hard to see it in the pictures. It looks very good in pictures. Don't let it fool you. It does have its issues. This trim, I'm not so sure this isn't some sort of aftermarket trim. I'm probably going to leave it alone for now because I don't want to know what's under it. I'm going to keep the trim and the fender flares on it. You can see in the pictures it's missing the front two flares, but they're just sitting in the bed. So I'll end up pulling off all the flares, redoing them because they're all very faded, and snapping those back on. So you can see the dent there and then the rocker. The rocker on this side is rusted. This is the only rust on the truck. It's got the outer rocker that's rusted pretty good. I've crawled all over under it, and nowhere else looks very bad. Or I shouldn't say very bad. Nowhere else you can see rust. This is the only part. So we're going to cut that out, put a new rocker in, and attempt to match it as good as possible so we don't have a matte black rocker sitting down there. But yeah, that will get rid of all of our rust issues. This thing shouldn't see any more salt. I don't see that happening. So yeah, if you guys are wondering, tire and wheel setup, that is just a 285/75 Cooper Discover, like an ST, I think is what they call it, and a 16-inch bullet hole. Nothing special. This is what's been on it since I've ever known it, really. It looks decent, but we will be changing that up. Go figure. Can't leave it alone. I'll leave it alone for now because the tires are like brand new, so I'm not really worried about it right now. I would rather get it street legal and all that stuff and get it back on the road and fix all the other stuff before I start messing with that. So you can see it's got a lot of rake, and you'll be able to see that in the next picture too, probably. But we're gonna adjust that. Yeah, the truck's pretty straight in all reality for what it is. The hood looks good, the grill looks good. I do like it. Completely see-through, pure fishbowl though. I cleaned the windows pretty good. All right, this is a pretty good picture of it. I think this is probably the best picture of it I've got. So this one you can really see the rake from the front to back. So the front sits about 5 to 6 inches lower than the back, which I cannot stand. All of you know that. And instead of bringing the front end up, we're going to drop the back end down just to match that front height. So some will absolutely hate that, and that is perfectly fine. I've been the other way with it. You guys should already know that. I have like my last truck was leveled. It had a 4-inch lift on it at one point. I've already been that route. I want something that rides as good as a first gen possibly can. And what will do that? Taking out that 6-inch factory block on the rear. So we'll probably pull that, and to kind of compensate for that, because this thing is its main job, like it's going to tow, and I'm going to make it tow as good as it possibly could or can for being a 92. We'll put bags in the rear or towing bags in the rear, just like the OBS has, but they're going to be a little bit more stout, I would say. And we'll drop the rear end, and yeah, that's basically it. We're just going to level it that way instead of bringing the front up, because I want it to steer great. So we'll be doing crossover steering, the no lift crossover steering from Northwest Fab, and obviously probably a gearbox, a Borgeson steering shaft, a steering box brace, all that good stuff to make this drive as good as it can. Because you guys know, I know because I've owned them. These things don't drive that great, and I want it to be pretty dang good. So that's why I'm going this route. It's going to be OEM plus is what I would call it. We're going to remove these wheels and tires, do a 16 by 10 Steely, so a factory looking Steely with the dog dish hubcaps on them. So if you know Jake Patterson, his truck has those on them right now. I've wanted to do that forever. I've wanted to do it since I had my old truck. But we'll do that with like a 285, and I think that'll look pretty good. It'll look basically OEM plus. That's what I'm going for. And yeah, I think it'll look pretty sharp by the time we're done with it. So not a lot cosmetically is going to be going on, just the basic things and those wheels and tires. And we're going to make this thing tow great. It's going to be about a 300 horse truck, which doesn't sound like much, but right now it's only like 125 to the wheels. So that would be a big power gain. Basically 300 horse, that will be the end of the road with the stock injectors. That's all those will get you. So that's what we're going to roll with. We're going to keep the stock injectors and do everything else to get it there. The only problem is the A518 that backs it. As you guys saw, it's an automatic, so we got the A518. Stock converter, stock trans, never been touched. It's way worse than my old one because it's got the stock converter. It just does not drive as good. So we're gonna have to end up figuring something out there, but we'll make it. It's no problem. I didn't realize I never. There we go. It's no problem. I will be doing service on it, all that good stuff. basically we'll be starting back at square one where a lot of you guys are, and I'm very thrilled for that. So here's the interior after we cleaned it up some. Dash is good. All the dash lights work. The only weird thing going on is that fan speed switch, and I'm going to fix that because right now it's just commanding full fan speed. So we're going to check out the resistor, and then basically kind of what we're going to do what Tim Stevenson over at Decent Garage did. He diagnosed his. We're essentially going to pull all that stuff out, hook it up as it would factory, diagnose it the correct way, and move from there and make it work just like it should have from the factory. We're also going to attempt to get this cruise control to work and just clean up that wiring under the dash. And obviously there'll have to be a couple of gauge additions just so we can monitor everything properly. The carpet, as you can see, after I vacuumed it out, still dirty. We'll put new carpet in it. I've got all the sound deadening for the truck already, so this thing should be very quiet in the cab, or at least as quiet as I can get it. And I'm going to leave the bench seat for right now, just because captain's chairs are so hard to find, and we're going to drive it. So I'm very excited for that. And that was the last picture I've got. So the cool part is where I'm going with the truck is where a lot of you younger and new and even experienced first gen enthusiasts are going. A lot of you guys want a cool looking old truck that's got the older aesthetic, the body lines, the just the squareness, like it looks like the truck you grew up in, and that's what all of you guys want. And it's got the engine that everybody wants. So what we're gonna do is go for that. I mean, that's why I love these trucks so much. But we want to have that plus as good as ride quality and handling as we can get. So a comfortable first gen is what everybody wants. It's super hard to get. It's only going to get so good, but we're going to do our darndest to get it as good as possible, basically. And then we're going to make it tow. One thing my old truck did not do well at all is tow. Even with the compounds, it towed horribly. And I am out to prove that we can do better than that with a stock injector truck with a single turbocharger and possibly still an A518. We'll see how that goes. I would rather have a G56 behind it, just like Tim over at Decent Garage has got. You guys will hear me reference Tim because over the past, I don't know, 6 months to a year, I've gotten to know him just a little bit. We talk back and forth every now and then. He puts out good stuff, and he's a true first gen enthusiast, and I really appreciate that. So if you guys haven't seen his stuff, if you watch me, you've got to watch him. So I would definitely go over there and check his stuff out. But anyway, I am very excited to be going in the direction that I am with this truck. It's where a lot of you guys are at. I didn't want to drag this on super long, but needless to say, I'm glad to be back. That's for sure. But for today on the Old School Crew, that's going to wrap it up. We will see you guys on the next one, and I cannot wait to start working on this thing. A little insider is I ordered at least 20 parts for this thing last night, and they will be showing up at the house. So we're going to work on it all we can. It's going to be a blast. Glad to have you guys back, and I'm glad to be back. Peace out. We'll see you on the next one.